Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Morning, everyone. We're going to give it another 2 minutes to see if anyone hops on the line, and then we'll get started. Thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Good morning, and thank you for attending our second QuickBooks Online training seminar. My name is Sarah Yost. I'm a certified QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and I'm a supervisor here at Kistler. Joining me today on the webinar are Kistler staff accountants, who are also certified in QuickBooks Online, Jeff Skakun, and Jordan Knapp. As we get started, if you have any questions or have any technical problems, please feel free to either raise your hand or you should be able to send a message to us as well down at the bottom. Today, we're going to be covering the following topics: invoicing, attachments, budgets, projects, reports, and apps. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Good morning. First, I'm going to be talking about how to customize your invoices. But to get there, you click the gear icon in the top right and go to Custom Form and Styles under your company. This will take you to a list of all your customized forms that you have created. As you see, we have the standard, which is the first default, which is what QuickBooks Online defaults do. If we click on the top right, New Style, we can go to Invoice, and then we can customize our invoices. As you can see, there's lots of options we can do. First, let's change the name to My Custom Invoice. And then they have some templates you can choose from. If you click them, you see how on the right the preview changes. These are just some different formats that QuickBooks has come up with that you can, if you can like them, you can use them, but you can also customize it further. You can add a logo by clicking the change up and add a logo. I have the Kistler logo here. As you can see, once I add it, it pops it right in the preview. You can change the placement. You can even change the size. And if for some reason, some template you don't want it to show up, you can click the hide logo and it goes away. Let's show it for this one. They have some default colors if you like. You change them and you see it changes these colors over here. And if you know the code for a specific color, you can use that here. And then you can also choose fonts. They have a few options. I like Times New Roman. And if you need it smaller or bigger, you can do that. And then the print settings. You can customize the margins. The biggest one I like is the fit this printed form to a window envelope. So in case you're sending these out, it'll change that to fit to a windowed envelope right away. Then if you don't want to add a logo, you can use letterhead paper, and you see it removes the top, so in case you have a special letterhead, you can print directly on that. And then up here under content, here you can customize each individual section even further. For the header, it lets you change the business name, add a phone number, you can change the address, or not display the address, add a website if you want. If for some reason you want to change the name from invoice to invoice estimate, you can do this for this specific template. You can use for form numbers. QuickBooks will automatically number them in order. If for some reason you want to customize it for specific circumstances, you can click the Use Custom Transaction Numbers, and then when you create the invoice, you can enter the number manually. Then down here in display, you can show billing address, you can show the shipping address, and see how it's changed the ship to. So you can have another thing. You can add custom fields. For right now, we have a crew number. Say you want to add a second custom field called crew name. And you see up here at the top, you see a crew name appeared. So let's try the body. Here you can see you can edit the date, the description of the product. If you want to move these around, you click these little 9 boxes and drag up and down. And now the date has moved. And for description, how quantity and rate are separate. If you click this box, it moves it to under the activity description. And if you click the product and services, you can kind of combine categories if you don't like so many columns. You can add, if you uncheck these, you can add the quantity and rate back. If you want to display the SKU, you can add that. Under show more activity options, there's a lot more options. Under the group activities, you can group them by day, week, month, or type. So if we group by day, you can also show subtotals. You can show billable time. A lot of these you can go really in depth in. Then for the footer, you can customize if you say you want to show a discount, if you will add discounts to your invoices. If they've made a deposit on this invoice, you can show that. You can also change the default message. As you can see, it changed it down here. You can change the font size if you want it smaller or bigger. If you want to add some more text, as you can see, it shows up down the bottom middle. You can make that bigger or smaller. You can change if it's left, right, or centered. If you have some text you want to change. You can also customize the email that is being sent with this invoice. You can change the subject line. You can change the greeting to a blank, and then you can also adjust how the name is displayed, first and last, or title like Mr., only the first name, the full name, or even to a company name. So if we do first, it makes it a little bit more personalized. You can edit the text. If you don't like this, you can change it. You can also change how the reminder email looks. In case they didn't pay, you need to send a new email out. You can customize the text. And that'll all work for this one template. And then under payment, this is where you can add the online payment features through QuickBooks. They do charge extra fees, and that's a whole another issue. So now that we've customized this invoice, we'll hit done, and it'll save it. And then back on this list, you can now see I have standard, or my custom invoice right here. So now that we've customized it, let's create a new invoice under the plus sign. You go to under customers, create invoice. So if we choose a customer, we'll choose Kate. You see we have a ship via information that we picked in the invoice. We show the shipping information. If they have a tracking number, we can put that number in. And our custom field that we added under crew name, we now have that here. So let's add some transactions. Just some quick ones. And we had, in this template, we had to group by date. So if we go under customize, this is where you pick which invoice template you want to use. We'll click my custom invoice. And then we'll preview this. And as you can see, they've subtotal these by date. We'll have the subtotal for 75 for the 24th, and then 575 for the 25th. So there's lots of ways you can customize these invoices to how you like. And if you, for some reason, want to change it directly through the invoice, if you click the Customize button again, you can click Edit Current, and it'll take you right back to the customization window, and you can make changes directly through here too. So that's how you customize invoices. Now I will talk about attachments. You can pretty much attach anything you want to a variety of items in here. To get to that list, we'll click the gear icon and go under List to Attachments. This will show you all your attachments you have uploaded to QuickBooks Online. Right now we have nothing. So click this little gray box and it'll open the File Explorer window where you can navigate to your file. I will upload the Kistler logo again. And then once it's uploaded, it comes down here and it shows you everything about it. You can download it again, you can edit it, you can delete it if you don't want it, or you can directly create invoice or expense directly from this window. So let's create an expense tied to this attachment. We'll just say pay to Bob's Burger Joint for advertising, amount of 500. And if we save and close this, you'll see now that this attachment is linked. And it tells you exactly what it's linked to. And if we click the blue expense, it takes us back directly to the expense entry, which is very handy if you want to see what that invoice is. And then if we upload another one, I'll show you how to add an attachment from a different window. So now we have another version that's unlinked. And if we create an expense through the plus sign, we go back through this, we fill out all this information. And if you scroll down, you see there's a thing called attachments here. If you want to add an attachment directly here, you can click this and it opens a File Explorer again. So we'll add this. Or underneath it says Show Existing. If we click that, a window pops up on the right and it shows all the attachments that we've uploaded to QuickBooks that have not been linked to another item. So if we click Add, and then Add again, now we have items linked to it. And if we hit Save and Close, now we're here and we now have 3 uploaded, all attached to item. Click the expense again and it takes us back directly to there. Another thing is you can have an item linked to multiple items. So if we have another expense and we show existing, if we change this unlinked to all, we can go back here and add it again. And then if we save and close, we'll notice that this one at the top now has 2 links. So in case an invoice needs to be linked to 2 expenses or 2 invoices, it's very handy. Most common things to upload are like bank statements, credit card statements, or bills or invoices you've received that need to be paid. Another way, you can also add attachments to customers. So in case you want to make a note, if you go to customers, and let's go to Amy's Bird Sanctuary, under customer details here, if you scroll down, they have another attachment window. You can do the same thing, show existing. You can see only unlinked, you can see all. You can click this to go to the File Explorer. So if you want to save correspondence with that customer or whatever, you can attach it to that customer. That is all I have for attachments and invoices. I will now pass it to Sarah to go over projects and budgets.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Okay. We did have a question while Jeff was talking, and it was about the QuickBooks Payments. It is pretty simple to set those up. I'll hop into an invoice here real quick and just kind of show you. Right up here, you should already have this option here. To process credit cards, QuickBooks Online does charge fees for processing credit cards. However, if you look down here, if someone can pay via ACH, that's actually free with QuickBooks Online. So you could check that, and they could pay with a check. So with that, I'm going to hop into budgets. And budgets are available in QuickBooks Online Plus. They're important tracking tools to make sure that things are going on track, or to see where changes need to be made. So we'll go up here to the gear icon, and under tools you can see budgeting. I've set up a couple, but just to kind of walk through one here, we're going to add a budget, and we'll give it a name. This one I'm going to call Budget 2019, and then it asks you which fiscal year we're going to use for our budget, and this one would be 2019, but you can see you can go back 2 years, well, current year, 1 prior, and then up to 5 coming up. You can choose your interval. Typically you'd see annually, but they do give you the options of monthly or quarterly here. We'll switch it to yearly. For pre-filled data, this is kind of nice because it can drop in here the numbers that came from either the prior year or the current year. I'll choose that. There's not too much activity in this test client, but you can see it pulled in numbers that we already have here for 2018. This subdivide, I'll show you a little bit later with projects, but you can subdivide by customer. And this is kind of nice if you have a project set up, you can actually set up a budget for that specific project, or if you have a specific budget for one client in particular. So we'll choose none here. We won't subdivide. And then we'll create the budget. So QuickBooks should refresh here. And I'll go back to one that's already completed. So we'll go into edit. So here you can just drop in your numbers for what you anticipate your amounts to be for either the next year or say 2 years down the road. So we can save and close this. And then the nice thing about that is you can go into reports then, and right here under business overview, you've got some budget reports that you can pull up. So we can do a budget overview. So here's, it just basically divided everything by 12 for my totals for the year. And if I go back to the report list, the other budget option is budget versus actual. And here you can see it calculated it for each month. You can hone that down just by customizing it a little bit. So you can go into this customize, and there's a couple different filters you can use here. So with that, I'm going to talk about projects. And projects help us track the progress of jobs through the bookkeeping software. Like budgets, they help you make sure that items are keeping on schedule financially. And again, this is only available with the QuickBooks Online Plus subscription. So to add projects, first you need to go up to the gear icon and over to Accounts and Settings. And then we're going to go into Advanced. And down here, you can see that for projects, mine is already turned on, but the option would be there if you haven't turned it on already. And then to get into projects, on the left-hand menu, you can see the word projects here. So we'll select that. I've already set up a generic project here, but to walk you through, we would just go up to New Project, and we'll call this Table number 2. We can say it's for Emma here. And we're going to say this is a 4x4 table. You can put whatever notes you might need that go along with the project in here. So then I'll save that. And everything you'll need to do with this project, you'll want to select up here to this Add to Project. Your options are Invoice, Receive Payment, Expense, Estimate, Time, Bill, and Purchase Order. So we're going to create an invoice for this particular project. We're going to choose Emma T as the customer, and we'll start our project here. We'll just add some information, and I'm going to show you, we'll just put it here for save and close. I'm actually going to go back to this one that I already have set up. So this was a custom table, and if we click on this transactions button there, here was the invoice I set up for this one. And I actually set it up from an estimate. So if we click on the linked item here, we could go back to the original estimate that I sent out to the customer who accepted the estimate, and then we created an invoice from that. So we'll close that. And now I'm going to add some expenses to this project. So we're going to say we purchased some items. Those look good. Now you'll note this billable column here. If you were, say, having your customer pay as you incur expenses, you would want to make sure to check that billable. However, we already sent Annabelle her invoice, so she already knows what it's going to cost her. So I'm going to uncheck these. Because if those are selected, basically you can add them to an invoice and send that invoice out to her. So we'll save and close. So now if I go back here into Annabelle, we're going to pull up the expenses that were just added. Here's this one. And they're all going here to this particular project. That's also important for your reports that we're going to pull up here very shortly. So in our projects, we'll go back into this particular table, and I'm going to pull up our project profitability. And what you can see, here's the original invoice that was set up. And under cost of goods sold, I actually have two sets of expenses in here totaling $400. So right now, if we go back to the details and into the project profitability, we're making $175 on this project. So that's kind of nice to see real quick. Let's go ahead and add some time to this project. And here's where you would select the employee of the company. And you want to make sure again that it's hitting the correct project. And again, here's the billable checkbox, which you can select if you're planning on billing her as you go along and incur costs. If you leave this unchecked, it won't show up anywhere with your profitability report. You just kind of know that you added, let's say, 4 hours to the project. You can say you designed it and started fabrication. So we can hit save and close. And then if we go to transactions, or the project profitability, we still are showing $175 even though we added time to this project because we didn't add it as a billable expense to this project. Here's our unbilled time and expenses. And let's go into, this would pop up here if something wasn't specifically allocated to that particular project. I'm going to add in here real quick some more time. And we're going to say this one is billable at an hourly rate of $50 an hour, and we'll just put in, ooh, let's do 2 hours additional time. So save and close. So now under our transactions list, we can see that there was time charged to this client and it's still open, so we can create an invoice from this particular expense. And let's save and close that. So now we've got 2 invoices allocated to this project. But all of your project reports are going to be right here, and they're going to be all contained within this particular project. You can change it to in progress, completed, or canceled as needed. And if there are any questions, looks like we've got one. Take a look at that. And the question was, how does a customer accept our estimate? Okay, so if I go back to, let's just create an invoice. And let's choose Emma T. And we're gonna just pop something in here quick. So like for $500, I'm going to save and send. Okay. So here is what will be sent out via email. And here's what the body of the email is going to look like. We're going to send and close. Now, since I sent that to myself, hopefully it'll come through here in a little bit. Might not be able to see it right away. It's actually going to be in the body of the email. They can accept the estimate. So that's a quick way to accept it. But let's say they just called up and they wanted to accept it that way. They called you. If you go back into our estimate, so we'll go this way just real quick. You can see it's under the pending status. You can change this right here to accepted. And you can say that she accepted it on, we're gonna future date this. So we're accepted here, and from here we can just create the invoice. Yeah, so. And you can see up here that it's linked to the transaction, and that's the original estimate that we sent out. Okay. So now I'm going to move it to Jordan, who's going to discuss customizing reports and apps.
All right, thank you, Sarah. I'm going to start with discussing and showing you how reports can be customized and saved, which can prove to be very helpful in many different situations when you want quick overviews of your business and your operations. You can do such things as filtering your reports to show only certain customers or products, and even comparing different periods. As I just mentioned, once you get a report the way you want it and you think it'll be useful to yourself in the future, it can be saved for easy access at later times, which will not only prove to be a time saver, but also give you those quick and easy snapshots of how your business is doing. So without further ado, let's go down to reports here. And as you can see at the top of the screen, we have standard, custom, and management reports. So your standard reports will be just all your basic reports, which I will show you and discuss briefly here in a second. And then this custom reports tab, it doesn't have anything in here now, but I will show you shortly how we can customize a report and then save it, and it will be in here, and we can group them or not group them, and it's just very easy for you to access them very quickly. And then lastly, we have management reports, which we're not focusing on today, but you can think of these management reports as kind of just like a report bundle, kind of like an annual report. You could have your logo on the cover page and then just a balance sheet, profit and loss, and a statement of cash flows at the end of the year for you if you want to do that. But we'll go back to the standard tab, and then at the top here you can see we have our favorites. And then if you want to come down here, say we would like a statement of cash flows to be up in our favorites, we just click on this star, and as you can see it has come up to our favorites just for some very easy access for us. But as we go down, I'll just explain these different subcategories here. So we have business overview, which is just your basic balance sheet, profit and loss, statement of cash flows, and things like that. And as we go down, I just like to note that you can click this little caret and it will minimize the different subcategories for you. And next we have who owes you, which will be your accounts receivable reports. Next, we have our sales reports and reports to do with our customers. Then we have who you owe, which will be your accounts payable reports. We have some aging reports here. We have expenses and vendors, and I would like to note for those of you who have to send out 1099s at the end of the year, there are reports here that are very useful for that. This expense by vendor summary will break your expenses down by vendors, and you can very easily see who you may need to send a 1099 to. And then we have sales tax, we have employee reports, which is kind of like time tracking and stuff like that. We have account reports for your accountant. And then lastly, we have payroll reports. So in order to show you guys how we can customize our reports, I will go under business overview here and I'll pick a profit and loss. So we will go into this profit and loss. And then once the report opens, if we scroll up a little bit, we have just some quick customization up at the top here. So we can pick our period. So we'll go down for this report. We will look at last month's profit and loss, and as you see, our dates will change to what we specify it to be right here. And then we can pick different columns here. So as of right now, you can see we're just showing the total on this report, but we can also pick different things. We can show different days, weeks, months, quarters. You can even break it down to columns of customers, vendors, employees, and products and services. Now that could be useful sometimes if you would like to break your profit and loss down by your different products, and then you could export that to Excel and easily manipulate that if you need to find something out. So then we can go to this drop down and we can show what accounts we want to show. Right now it is just showing all of the active accounts. We can also change that to just show all accounts that aren't zero. And then lastly, we can compare. So let's compare our previous period, which will be the month before last month, and we can show our percentage changed. And we can run this report. And as you see, it shows us August, our August profit and loss, and then it's also going to show us July, and it's going to show us the percentage of change between those 2 months. Okay, and now we can come up to customize even further. We can click on this customize button in the top right. And as you see, this is going to be a lot of the same stuff we saw at the top of the report, but also some additional. So we can change our negative numbers. We can change them to, let's say we want them to be in parentheses, and we also want to show our negative numbers in red. So we can do that. And then, like I said, a lot of this stuff, we can change our accounting method. A lot of times you're probably just gonna want to stick with what you usually do. We can go to our rows and columns. You can see we can do additional comparisons here. We can change our columns like I told you before. But where we can do some additional customization is in this filter customization tab here. So say we want to look at our profit and loss just from our fountain sales. So we can do that, and then we can customize the title of the report to be monthly fountain P&L. So we can run this report, and as you see at the top here, our title is going to change to monthly fountain P&L. And as you can see, this report is much smaller because it is just showing our income and expenses related to our fountains. And you see it'll still tell us our change. And then say you like this report and you want to look at this a lot more often, we can save this customization. And it's already naming the report what we named it. And then we can add a group. So say you have multiple different products that you want to have different reports to check up on. From time to time, we can add a new group. We can call it fountain. We can add that. We can save that. So now if we go back to our list, you can see that if we go to custom reports here, we have our monthly fountain P&L. And it's under our fountain subcategory here. So now I would like to discuss just some additional customization you can do with some detailed reports. So if we go under sales by customer detail, if we want to look at this report. So this is showing month to date right now. Let's have this show this year to date. We'll run that. So as you can see, it shows us our sales related to each of our customers. And so I would like to discuss these buttons at the top here. So right here we have a little gear icon that we can easily add and take away columns. So say we wanted to add a column for the account that this transaction hit. We can click that, and then we just click off of this and then give it a second, and it should add an account column for us. Okay, here we go. So you see it put our account column at the end here. You know, we don't really like that. We want to maybe move that in front of the products and services. We can easily do that too. And you can also mess around with your columns if you want to come up here to customize again. As I showed you before, we can come down to filter. We want to go to rows and columns actually, and we're going to change columns. And then you see we can just drag this account up to in front of product or service. And we can run report. And give it 1 second, and there we go. You see we have our account right there. So that's just some additional customization to some detailed reports. And then also I will discuss these other buttons up here. This one right here, we can easily export this report to either Excel or a PDF. And then we can also print the report or email the report very quickly from these buttons at the top of the report. So, and I will discuss one more report here. And this is very, very easy to drill in to certain accounts on the reports. So I pulled up the balance sheet here, and then we see our checking account. So if we just click on this 1201 that's in our checking account, it will now bring up a transaction report of all of the transactions in our checking account. And then, as Jeff talked about in our last webinar, it's very key to look at what has been cleared and what has not been cleared from the bank. So we can come up to customize this report. And as you will see, since this is a more detailed report, we will have more filters here. And we can come down to our cleared, and we can mark it to only show us uncleared transactions in our checking account. You see it'll move that to the top. And we can run this report, And now it is only showing us what items are in our checking account that are uncleared. And maybe you want to also add a column of cleared. So we can add this right here. And we'll click off of that. And as you see, it will throw that at the end for us. Most likely, yes. And then, as I showed you before, we can move that around and put that cleared column wherever we want. And then also, so we'll save this one too. We can call this uncleared. And then we don't need to add it to a group. We'll just save it. And we'll go back to the reports list. And we will go to our custom reports tab. And now you can see under fountain, we have our monthly fountain P&L. And then also at the top, we have our uncleared transactions in our checking account. And we can look at that very easily. All right, now I will briefly discuss some apps with you that QuickBooks Online has. And first, I'll discuss T-Sheets. And the main feature with T-Sheets is an app that will help you with time tracking with your employees. And the main feature of T-Sheets is their mobile app. And the mobile app will allow you to track time using devices your employees already have, so their smartphones and their computers. Employees can clock in quickly and easily using a smartphone, computer, or even a clock kiosk, and thus enabling you to use the Who's Working window within the T-Sheets app to see where your employees are and what they're doing in real time for much greater accountability. And so also, as I'm going through these apps, I'd also like to note that this trophy right here signifies that the apps have been tested and used by QuickBooks Pro advisors, and they are recommended. So this is one of those. And also, I'd like to note that if you just go to apps.com on your browser, it will take you to this QuickBooks app site, and you can explore it for yourself, because I am just highlighting a few different apps today. But I will go back to the home screen, and you will see they have the newest apps out, the top rated, and some featured ones. But this will be a good way for you to browse too, if you just want to go by category and pick your different categories. But next, I'm going to go to CRM, and we're going to look at Method CRM. And for those of you who don't know, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. So Method CRM, this CRM tool is like no other, with its deep QuickBooks sync that really allows you to get a 360-degree view of your customers, vendors, and your connections. Method extracts everything from names and addresses to sales transactions and payments, which, as you can imagine, will give you a very in-depth look at all your connections. Next, we will look at Expensify. So we will go down to Expense Management, and we will find Expensify right here. This is another one with a trophy, so this one is recommended. Expensify is an expense management tool that with just one click receipt, with just a snap of a photo, the Expensify mobile app can extract information from your receipts and import them into your QuickBooks Online account. And as you can imagine, this will save a tremendous amount of time and eliminate a bunch of tedious data entry. Next, I will discuss HubDoc, which is a document management tool. So we will go to Document Management. And I believe, yes, this one has a trophy as well. And I'd just also like to know right now, if you guys have any questions during this or about any of these apps, feel free to reach out to Sarah, Jeff, or myself, and we would be glad to help you find apps that work for you. So HubDoc will allow you to stop chasing bills or receipts, because it has the ability to automatically fetch documents from hundreds of financial institutions, utility companies, telephone and internet providers, and so on. You'll be able to eliminate the time it takes to track all of your paper files, because whether you are at work, on your computer, or on the go on your cell phone, you will always be able to digitally see all of your documents from the HubDoc app. So now we will look at SOS Inventory, which we will find under Inventory Management. We have it right here. And with SOS Inventory, you can get sales orders, assemblies, serial inventory, multiple locations, and much more at a much lower cost than traditional inventory tracking systems. You are able to integrate your SOS inventory with multiple other apps such as PayPal and UPS. The reports within the app will allow you to understand what you have, where it is, and what you will need to be ordering soon. It also features an alert feature that can text or email you when attention is needed in a certain area. And finally, we will end with Pluto, which we will see under accounts payable. And this will not only help you with accounts payable, but also accounts receivable. We can see it right here. So this app will make sending and receiving payments easier than ever for you. Pluto has a deep integration with QuickBooks, and whenever you create or update a bill within QuickBooks Online, you can then simply log in to your Pluto account, process multiple transactions at once, and have the money deposited directly into your vendor accounts. You will even be notified when the transaction goes through, along with every other step of the process. It also enables you to collect your receivables up to 3 times faster. I know in our last webinar we had a question about making a recurring transaction that would automatically notify your customer when they become past due. Well, that is exactly how Pluto speeds up the collection process, by automatically sending reminders and payment requests to your customers for you. And as I mentioned before, if you guys want to dive into any more apps or have us help you find an app that may work for you, go ahead and contact Sarah, Jeff, or I whenever you'd like. And so now that wraps up apps, and I would like to thank you all for your time, and I will now ask if there are any questions while I transition back to Sarah.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. I just have up here, if you have any questions, again, feel free to contact us. And thanks again for attending our second intermediate training class. We'd like to remind you that as a firm with Pro Advisors, we can offer benefits to you such as discounts and support opportunities. If you aren't already taking advantage of our discount or are paying annually, please let us know and we can sign you up. Thanks again and have a great day, everyone.